Hi everyone, welcome back to Prints and Paints. This is Marcy. I'm making another quick tutorial on my how-tos, okay? Today I'm going to be showing you how you can make cones and how you can fill them, what kind of consistency the paint should be at, and how you can make these just from at home with things laying around the house. Okay, so let's get started. Okay guys, so a couple things you're going to need first. One thing is that you can go online and you can purchase already made cones. You don't get many in the package and they aren't that cheap. So, you can opt to do this type of style. The only thing I don't like about these, this is the smallest I was able to find. And when you are painting, you want something that's more handheld, that fits in the palm of your hand. And this one's more like a baker's piping. So, it's very high. So a lot of this, I feel like I waste. I have to roll it down. And even here is still fairly high because you want to hold that and then squeeze out. So you want that like nice small grip to it. Okay, so I found that making my own was very ideal and very easy. So this is all you're going to need. Any kind of cellophane, anything that's like a foily, except for foil. You cannot use foil because it's too thick on obviously. So something thin, whether they're chip bags or this is a Chips Ahoy, okay, bag. And all I'm going to do basically is I'm just going to trim the edges with my scissors. Sorry if this is too loud. And what you want to do is have roughly like a 4x4 size square, okay? So I'm just going to quickly measure this out with my ruler just to see. And I'm going to mark. This is like where my 4 mark is. So then with my scissors, I'm just going to cut straight across here like so until I get to like the crease. And then from here, I'm just going to cut across. Now you don't obviously want to use the area that has this really dense, thick part, so discard that. But anything that's very loose like this, definitely can use. All right. If it is a little bit crumpled because they were sealed that way, I usually try to just use the center part of whatever it is I'm using. But guys, you can use anything, any kind of chip bags. If you don't eat chips, I'm sorry, maybe something that's a more healthy type of, regular, whatchamacallit, like cellophane, not as cling wrap. Cling wrap won't work. It's too, like the plastic's too thin. It'll stick to everything. You want to just try to find cellophane. You can buy cellophane bags, I think, online. So maybe if you want to try to find something that's, like a 4x4 cellophane bag might work. And then if you just cut it, I would have to look that up and see if it is. Anyway, so, this is going to be my outside. I'm going to use this part, the outer part, for my inside of my cone, okay? So basically what you want to do now is you just want to take one of the corners and you want to fold it in like this, okay? Now I'm tucking my middle finger under with my right-handed. I am right-handed, so if you are left-handed, just do it, this way. I am going to tuck, and I'm holding this with my thumb and my middle finger. And I'm basically just going to start holding the tip of this with this hand lightly so I don't crush it. And I just start twisting inwards and rolling that inner piece together so that I start to make this tight cone. you'll actually feel it. Like I'm using my finger right now to just wrap around. Okay? And I just keep going until it's really tight. Now see, that inside's nicely tight. Perfect. Okay. And I'm holding this still with my other hand. Now I'm going to find that seal at the bottom there. Try to lightly take my finger out. So right here's my seal that I'm holding on to. And I'm just going to get a piece of tape. So really you just need some cellophane tape and scissors. And then that's it. And maybe a ruler if you want to measure out. I honestly just eyeball it. I don't even think it's really just having a square that you need. So if you can cut a square without using a ruler, by all means, you don't need a ruler. Okay, so that's your first part. So now that you've sealed your bottom, if you feel like you want to do one more piece, and so when you put your tape on, all you're going to do is like put it at an angle, like so. Okay, and then so what you want to do is you just want to fold over. And then you're just going to want to curve around with the tip, like so. Okay? And there you go. There's your cone you have here. Now, you can opt to snip this end piece off if you want. I like to just leave it so that I can put my paint in that area in general. So that's how you make your cone. Okay? And then these are nice and small. They're not big. They're going to fit perfectly in your hand. You have a nice rounded tip to them. Now the paint you want to use, so you just get a plate here. I have it's like a putty knife. Okay, you can use these for mixing acrylics or oils. They're a good investment to have. I do like the ones that are a little bit smaller. They're narrower, flat, but this is all I could find for now. So if you're going to use something like deco art, or if you're going to use something like folk art or apple barrel or anything that's a soft body paint, if I put this on the tray just to show you, I'm going to squeeze out a nice amount here so that I can fill up my thing. Okay, so that's a nice, I'd say that's about a little bit more than a teaspoon, maybe like 2 teaspoons. Yeah, it's about a teaspoon, I'd say. If you want to get some measuring spoons and actually measure it, I mean, this is half a tablespoon technically. That's half a tablespoon, and I feel like that's not, I think it's about a teaspoon of paint. So if I did a teaspoon of that, I want to do a quarter of gel. So this is just matte gel medium that I'm using. If you would prefer to have your dots look very shiny, then you're going to want to use a shiny gel matte, okay? Gel medium. So remember that if you want nice shiny. You can also do like a bit of iridescent types of paints to mix with them. They might change the pigment a bit, but if you use like a pearl white, I mean, you would get more of a pink color though. So, you know, keep that in mind. I think they do sell like a pearl iridescent gel though. I have seen it on the market, and it doesn't mess with the pigmentation then. So all I'm going to do now is kind of flatten this out, and now this gel is not going to change the pigment of my color. It's not going to make it lighter. It's just going to thicken it up. Alright, and now you saw how little the amount of gel I put. If I was to put like a 1-to-1 ratio with this one, it would definitely make it so thick that like your dots become peaked. If you've ever worked with like egg whites and you see that peak that comes off of the top, or even with like whipped cream, that's too thick if you think about. So, you know, that you want to be careful. This is just a nice consistency. Alright, this is going to come out smooth but not peaked. Alright, so then now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paint. I'm going to stick that whole knife right in there and kind of wipe the sides a bit. Alright, this is why I think like a smaller knife might do the trick at this point. I have seen some people that use these kinds of like syringes to inject it in there, but then you waste a lot of paint in here. You know, and these paints can get expensive, so you know, that's your call if you want to do it. If you can find a way of mastering how to get most of that out of there, then yeah, by all means, you know, do whatever you can, you know, experiment with it, obviously. Alright, so I'm just basically using my knife and I'm gonna run it along the edges there. Some of it may potentially come out. I'm going to try my hardest to poke through and get some. Now the bottom, what I usually do with the bottom, I don't have one on me right now, but I like to get a sewing needle, the kind that have the little ball at the end, and I stick it right inside there so that no paint comes out. And I leave it there when I'm not using it so that I don't get a dried piece in there. So that's a good idea to do as well, just to keep it sealed. Because once the air hits this, it does tend to get a bit clumpy. I do make these on like an as-needed basis. So if I'm making ornaments and things like that, then I would use the colors that I need for that particular ornament, if that makes sense. Okay. This red I'm going to use for an ornament, actually. So that's why I'm using this color in particular. Okay. So I'm just scraping up as much as I can here. I'm going to try to get it all in there. And then what I want to do, if you have one, okay, you can use, you know, like these kinds of stylus. If you have them, they come with this silicone tip to the end. They actually work really good for mixing paints. They also can act as like, and because they're silicone, they smooth right through. If you can see in there, like it just pushes it right down in there. See that? All right. And then, so I'm just going to work my way around, trying to get most of that off that top edge, because when I fold this over, I don't want it leaking out everywhere. All right, I want it mostly gone. I think that's the best we're going to do for this one. Okay. That looks good enough. So then I'm just going to take this like so. I'm going to flip the top over. This is why I like to keep this, because it acts as like an envelope seal almost. You know, and then I'm going to flip it one more time. This could get a little tricky, could get a little frustrating. It's practice though. I'm going to get myself a piece of tape, and I'm just going to tape right over the top like so. Okay. If you feel like you see some coming out the edges, just tape it, guys. That's all you need to do, is just tape it off. Seal it off. Seal that yuckiness off. And then, voila, you got yourself a cone. And then when we squeeze it out, so I'm just applying pressure. So how to hold it, I'm just going to hold it like this, like I'm holding kind of like a pen, like, you know, and then I'm squeezing with my thumb into it. So I'm going to squeeze down, and there you go. So you can do dots like this. And if I can zoom in and show you really quick, let me wipe my hand real quick, because I've got some red paint all over it. Let's zoom in to show you. So, for example, actually, let me show you on an ornament. I have to be careful with this one because it's still drying. So this ornament I'm working on at the moment, and so I do these in processes because I want it to dry and then be able to hold it. So you can see I did some here with gold, and I'm doing some here with orange. Right here I have some red, so what I can do is show you with the red. Hopefully you can see this, guys. So I'm just gonna like start my cone in the center here. I'm gonna squeeze out lightly and keep squeezing until I get the right size of dot that I want. Do you see how that came out like that? And then I'll do a couple of them, and then I'll let it dry on one side. Okay, so I'll do about 3. If you notice, I do that here. These do take a lot of time for me because I like them to dry very uniformed. I don't like them running and, you know, whatever else. If you notice these gold ones, they're a bit peaked on here, surprisingly. Do you see, trying to show you the sides. Do you see how you have those peaks on there? So these were a bit too thick, honestly, the gold. But this is how it should come out. It's got a nice bubble. See how that sticks out like that? That's exactly what you need right there. So these come out great. I love using the deco art and then mixing it with my gel. I feel like I can kind of control the size of my, you know, like the type of paint that comes out. It comes out really great, and it doesn't run. You know, it's not going to slip right off the ornament. So that's how you do that. Now, I'm just going to put that over to dry. Now, there is another way of doing cones. Obviously, you make the cone the same way. However, you can use something like this, which is considered a hard body acrylic, and it's really thick. So if I was to just squeeze some out, you can already see the difference between that and how my other one looked, right? It's already very, very thick. It peaks when I touch it. It's super thick, okay? This technically doesn't even need any kind of gel at all. In fact, you might want to put a little bit of like pouring medium into it just to loosen it up a bit. And like, you know, I mean, this is a small amount I put on here, but I would even do just a couple of drops. Mix this in together to see how well it came out. It's still fairly thick. You probably want to do more. You don't want it to be stuck to your knife so much. Let's zoom out a bit so you can see. So it's starting to loosen it up now. You can, when you do this yourself, you'll start to feel it. It becomes much smoother. It's almost, it's more pliable. I don't know. It's more spreadable. It's more, it doesn't stick to everything, you know. So that's how you would do if you had like a hard body. I know that hard bodies are genuinely a little bit better to do this. It's a little bit easier to thin this down than it is to thicken up the other ones. I personally just love the way the color is on deco art. I've been working with it for over a year now, and I don't go back. I don't use anything else, but that's my preference on it, and that really has nothing to do with cones. It's just, you know, I like the paint. This paint is great too. It has really great pigmentation to it. Artesia's is online. You can find it on Amazon as well. I'm not sure if they sell it in the stores or not. They might. So that's that though. But this is how you make cones, guys. So they're super easy. And like I said, just stick a pin in there and it'll seal that end up. I usually like to just wipe off the ends, any excess I have there, you know. Sometimes take a dab and put a little bit of the paint on there so you know exactly like what color it is you were using. Because if you got a lot of these, it can get quite confusing on which one is which. So that is how you make cones, guys. Super easy, super quick. I hope you try them out. I'm hoping to make a tutorial on how to paint with cones. That's my next step. So I hope you stay tuned and enjoy your day, and happy dotting as usual. And we'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care. Bye.